Hare Krishna!
I am Kavya Budhiraja.
I am Kriti Budhiraja.
And I am Kesha Budhiraja.
And welcome back to
Being Krishna Conscious!
So a few days back, a lot of you commented that you want Gita Shloka's learning series. So today, we are bringing to you that particular series in which we'll try to learn those Gita Shlokas. And today, as this is episode number 1 of that series, we will try to understand and learn the Shlok number 1.1, which is verse number 1 from chapter number 1 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Now, chapter number 1 is observing the armies in the battlefield of Kuru-kṣetra. And I feel so happy to tell you all that my siblings Kriti and Keshav have also joined us to learn and memorize these shloka with all of us.
So without any delay,
let us begin.
So we are starting with verse number 1 from chapter number 1. Hold your hands and you have to repeat after me. dhṛtarāṣṭra uvāca.
dhṛtarāṣṭra uvāca.
dhṛtarāṣṭra uvāca.
dhṛtarāṣṭra uvāca.
dharma-kṣetre kuru-kṣetre.
dharma-kṣetre kuru-kṣetre.
dharma-kṣetre kuru-kṣetre.
dharma-kṣetre kuru-kṣetre.
samavetā yuyutsavaḥ.
samavetā yuyutsavaḥ.
samavetā yuyutsavaḥ.
samavetā yuyutsavaḥ.
māmakāḥ pāṇḍavāś
māmakāḥ pāṇḍavāś
māmakāḥ pāṇḍavāś
māmakāḥ pāṇḍavāś
kim akurvata sañjaya.
kim akurvata sañjaya.
kim akurvata sañjaya.
kim akurvata sañjaya.
dharma-kṣetre kuru-kṣetre.
dharma-kṣetre kuru-kṣetre.
samavetā yuyutsavaḥ.
samavetā yuyutsavaḥ.
māmakāḥ pāṇḍavāś
māmakāḥ pāṇḍavāś
kim akurvata sañjaya.
kim akurvata sañjaya.
Now let me recite the entire shlok this time. dhṛtarāṣṭra uvāca. dharma-kṣetre kuru-kṣetre. samavetā yuyutsavaḥ. māmakāḥ pāṇḍavāś kim akurvata sañjaya. Now we'll start with the word meaning of this verse. dhṛtarāṣṭra uvāca.
dhṛtarāṣṭra uvāca.
King Dhṛtarāṣṭra said,
King Dhṛtarāṣṭra said,
dharma-kṣetre,
dharma-kṣetre,
in the place of pilgrimage.
in the place of pilgrimage.
kuru-kṣetre,
kuru-kṣetre,
in the place named Kuru-kṣetra.
in the place named kuru-kṣetra.
samavetā,
samavetā,
assembled.
assembled.
yuyutsavaḥ,
yuyutsavaḥ,
desiring to fight.
desiring to fight.
māmakāḥ,
māmakāḥ,
my party sons.
my party sons.
pāṇḍavāḥ,
Pāṇḍavāḥ,
the sons of Pandu.
the sons of Pandu.
cha,
Cha,
and.
eva,
certainly.
certainly.
kim,
Kim,
what. akurvata,
akurvata,
did they do.
did they do.
sañjaya,
Sañjaya,
O Sanjay.
O Sanjay.
The translation of this verse is dhṛtarāṣṭra uvāca. King Dhṛtarāṣṭra said, O Sanjay, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kuru-kṣetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? Now let us try to understand the significance of this verse, because in the entire Bhagavad Gita, this is the one and only verse which has been spoken by Dhṛtarāṣṭra. There is no other verse in the entire Gita that Dhritarashtra has spoken. And how interesting it is that this particular verse is actually the starting point of this epic Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So let us dive deep into it. The question raised by King Dhritarashtra in this first verse to the Bhagavad Gita is extremely important. Now, in the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada mentions that King Dhritarashtra was well aware as to why the Kauravas and Pandavas had assembled at Kuru-kṣetra, which is clear from the verse, desiring to fight, that they had assembled there to hold a battle. Then why was King Dhritarashtra again asking or inquiring this from his secretary Sañjaya? Now, Sañjaya, being a disciple of Srila Vyasadeva, he was able to envision what was happening at the battlefield of Kuru-kṣetra while sitting with King Dhritarashtra in his court. So, this question of King Dhritarashtra, that what are Kauravas and Pandavas doing or what did they do, holds extreme significance. There are two primary reasons for the same. The first reason lies in the words dharma-kṣetre, kuru-kṣetre. The word used before the term kuru-kṣetra is dharma-kṣetre. It is not only a battlefield, but it is also dharma-kṣetre, because in the past, in the Vedic era, there were a lot of Devi Devatas, denizens, Gandharvas, Rishi Munis who used to assemble at Kuru-kṣetra to perform their religious activities. And we all know that even Krishna met all the Brajavasis, including Mother Yashoda, Nanda Baba, and the Braj Gopanganas, the Braj Gopis, in Kuru-kṣetra after 100 years of separation. So Kuru-kṣetra was not only a battlefield, but it was also dharma-kṣetra. Now why is that important? Because Dhritarashtra knew that Krishna is the father of dharma, and wherever there is Krishna, victory will be on that side. And Krishna was on the side of Pandavas, and by their inherent nature, Pandavas were victorious. So this was one reason why Dhritarashtra was extremely anxious to know what was the fate of his children. Secondly, Dhritarashtra never wanted a compromise to take place between his sons and the Pandavas. He never wanted to give his family heritage onto the sons of Pandu, the Pandavas, who instead were entitled to this family heritage. So, with this question, we can try to understand the anticipation, the anxiety with which Dhritarashtra was going through. That what did they do? Did they do a compromise? Because Dhritarashtra knew that the impact of the holy place, the pilgrimage of Kuru-kṣetra, will definitely have impact on this particular battle. All of which was pointing towards the victory of the Pandavas and not of the Kauravas. So this is that special significance of these terms dharma-kṣetre, kuru-kṣetre. Now that we have finally begun with the Learning Shloka series from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, let me also tell you how can we read and understand these verses in depth. First of all, try to put yourself in the shoes of Arjuna, because Arjuna was not a sannyasi, he was a grihastha, so we can easily relate our problems with the problems of Arjuna. So first, try to keep yourself in the place of Arjun and then try to understand what Krishna is trying to tell Arjun. No, what Krishna is trying to tell me. So this should be our mindset while reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that all the holy words coming out of the lotus lips of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, those words are directed towards me only. Point number 2 is, try to understand this Bhagavad Gita under the sanidhya of a pure bona fide devotee, because only a devotee who firstly himself has understood the essence of all these verses from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, only that person would be able to tell you with proper clarity that what is the real meaning of these verses. Point number 3 is, try to avoid all types of distractions. Whenever you're reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, firstly try to have a physical copy of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Well, if that is not possible, several online databases are always available. So whenever you're reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita, try to avoid all the distractions. It would be best if you would read it in the Brahma Muhurta Well, if that is not possible, then you can read it during any time during the day. However, if you have distractions around you, then it will be very hard for you to focus, because the endeavor that we are trying to perform is extremely divine. It is not material. The words coming out of Krishna's lips are not ordinary. There is no difference between Nam and Nami. So there is no difference between the holy name or the holy words coming out of his lotus lips and Krishna himself. So whenever we are studying Srimad Bhagavad Gita, please know that you are directly associating with Krishna, that the words of Srimad Bhagavad Gita are coming right for you. They are meant for you to solve your problems and ultimately take you back home, back to Godhead. And our last tip, tip number 4, we should not just read Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Try to study it. There is a difference between just reading and studying something. When you are reading something, you are just going through it, upar upar se. But when you are going into the depth, into all aspects of a particular subject, that is known as studying. So Srila Prabhupada always used to say that you should study Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and that should be our approach as well. Now that we have finally begun with this Bhagavad Gita Shlok learning series, we will try to come with several other shlokas which hold immense importance and which can actually transform our life into something more sublime and more useful, which will ultimately take us closer to our Supreme Pita, Sri Krishna. So today we learned the very first shloka from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So for one last time, let us all chant together loudly. धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्म-kṣetre kuru-kṣetre samavetā yuyutsavaḥ māmakāḥ pāṇḍavāś किम akurvata sañjaya. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की श्री श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर की निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे श्रील प्रभुपाद की हरे कृष्णा.